Today I am in Dayton, Ohio at the original site of the Wright Brothers bicycle shop. This is the actual lot that the building sat on, that the very first airplane was built in. Henry Ford bought the building, took it to Greenfield Village. And since 1937, it has been preserved here in Dearborn, Michigan at Greenfield Village. So you see on top of the building up there, there is the sign, C. Webert. Mr. Webert owned this building. The brothers rented it from him for their bicycle shop, the final bicycle shop that they had. Up here in the front, this was the main area where they greeted their guests and had their showroom and basically did business. This area back here was the bike workshop, so they would have done bike maintenance and repairs for customers. Bicycles were a really big business. If you think back to the late 1800s, it's really before the automobile became popular. People lived and worked in tighter areas than they do today, so this was a great mode of transportation. The Wrights had their own brands of bicycles. They had the St. Clair, they had the upper model, which was the Van Cleve, and they bought the parts or had them made, and they would assemble them back here in this room. And then this room here on the back of the building, this was the birthplace of the airplane. The very first airplanes were built in this room. They were built in sections. Obviously, this room would not have accommodated an entire airplane. And they never actually assembled the first airplane until they had it down in Kitty Hawk. It had never been a complete structure prior to that. Not only was the plane in here, you figured all their machinery was in here, all their workspace was in here. And you can imagine that they had the shades pulled on these windows, the doors were locked, they were very, very secretive. They didn't want anybody to see what they were working on. Now forward of this room, you can see the upper portion of the front part of the building. On the second floor up there, they had a paint shop for the bicycles. I believe they had printing presses for that business, and later they had their wind tunnel up there where they would test small scale models. But you can imagine the Wright brothers walking out this door back here. They would have had to have walked through this door to get back to the outhouse, which would have been back here someplace behind their shop. The brothers had operated their shop at various locations within about a block and a half space, and this was their fifth and final shop. They would move depending on rent prices and space requirements. They had their bike shop, they had their bicycle brands that they were building for, they had the printing business upstairs, and also eventually their flying hobby. This building was actually originally a residential structure. Webert had purchased the home and built this business facade on it to rent it out. And I'll tell you more about how Henry Ford acquired this building here in a few minutes. So the Wrights' customers would have come through this door and approached the counter to buy parts or ask about repairs, ask about new bicycles, and the Wrights would have stood right here. This business is what funded the development of the flying machines. This business was very important to them, so it needed to do well. And it did. Some financial records show that each of the brothers made about 3 times the average wage of that time period. This bicycle in the front window isn't one that they built themselves, likely something like what they would have sold. But I noticed this bike has no chain. It has a drive shaft connecting the crank to the rear hub. I just thought that was interesting. But this bicycle up here is one of the bicycles that the Wright brothers built. This is a Van Cleve bicycle. Of the 300 or so bicycles that it's estimated the Wrights built, there's only 5 known remaining examples. This one here at the Henry Ford. There are 3 that are in the Dayton, Ohio area, and then there is one at the Smithsonian. The one at the Smithsonian actually belongs to the Henry Ford and is on loan out there in D.C. And then this is their front office. These are original furnishings. It's the original desk. You see the round picture frame on the wall. That's a bicycle tire, and bicycle tire manufacturers would use these as promotional tools. You see the original telephone on the wall. This would have been the phone that they had in their office. Original desk, original phone, probably the original lamp up there. They got all that from Orville. This is the area where they worked on bikes, as I mentioned outside. You can imagine the two of them tinkering away while maybe daydreaming about what flying experiments they were going to work on tonight. Pretty cool to think that they were right here. Now, I mentioned that the Wrights would have had various companies build parts for the bicycles that they built, and they would assemble them here and brand it as their bike. The frames were built by the Davis Sewing Machine Company in Dayton. So this is interesting. This company was owned by George Huffman, who was the brother of the man whose field that they used to learn to fly airplanes. That was Huffman Prairie in the Dayton area. Eventually, the Huffmans changed the name of their sewing machine company to Huffman Manufacturing, and they focused on bicycle production. And then they changed the name from Huffman Manufacturing to Huffy Bicycles. So it's just this interesting connection the Wrights had with the bicycle business beyond just their store. This is the room where the airplane was invented. This is where it was built. The original gliders, the Kitty Hawk plane, later incarnations, and finally the Wright 3, which is the plane that they really learned to control with, the first practical airplane. This is the original machinery that the Wrights used to build that airplane. The Wrights acquired a lot of this machinery from Patterson Tool and Supply Company in Dayton, and they had it not only for the planes, but the bicycle business as well. They have a mock-up back here of a wing to give you an idea of what was going on back here, but also it shows you how tight it was, how they had to build this thing in small pieces. This is an original propeller, original prop, that looks like it was still in some stage of development. This was donated by Orville when they were moving everything up here to Greenfield Village. These props were hand-carved by the Wright Brothers, and they had come up with a very, very efficient design on these things. So this was one of the elements that got them in the air with their first airplane. And it's just really incredible to me that something of this magnitude, the very first airplanes, were built right here in this room that we're standing in by these two guys. The Wrights had a machinist that worked for them. He was actually the son-in-law of their landlord. His name was Charlie Taylor. He originally worked on their bikes, and then he was put in charge of the business when the Wrights were in Kitty Hawk or out at Huffman to keep the business going. But more importantly, he was the man who built the first airplane engine. The Wrights had tried to get an engine manufacturer to build a lightweight engine for them, but they didn't have any luck with that. Charlie built the engine for them. He cast it out of aluminum to get it light enough, and he built it here in this room. But the story comes full circle. After Ford secured this shop, he and Orville went looking for Charlie, and they found him working in a machine shop out in California. Henry Ford hired him to come here to Greenfield to help reconstruct the shop. He built this replica of the engine case, and he also built this half-scale model of the full engine from the airplane for Greenfield Village. And then he ended up working as a presenter here, or a guide, which I think is really incredible. Charlie also helped track down this machinery. This would have perhaps been sold off to various people, but they relocated it and they brought it here, the original machinery. You notice the belt-driven machinery. That was all powered by a natural gas burning engine that Charlie built back in Dayton, back in the day. And it also powered the Wrights' wind tunnel, which was upstairs. It's often mentioned that the Wrights' sister, Catherine, didn't particularly like Charlie, despite him otherwise seeming like a really nice guy. But it's probably because he knew more about what was going on than what she did within the business and the flying operation and everything. But one thing that always surfaces about Catherine and Charlie is that she hated his cigar smoke. The Wrights didn't smoke, they didn't drink, they didn't cuss, but Charlie admits that he smoked about 25 cigars a day, and that didn't sit well with her. So the story about how Henry Ford got this building. Ford knew Orville personally. He had tried to get the original plane all the way back in about 1925, but Orville had already told a museum in England that they could have it, at least for the time being. Orville had had a major dispute with the Smithsonian, and it had been going on a while, and it was just a political thing, and that's a whole nother video in and of itself. But he let this museum in England have it for a while. And then about 10 years later, Ford tried again. The editor of the paper in Detroit was a member of the early birds of aviation. These were guys that had become pilots prior to the First World War, and they were getting older, and they wanted to preserve the legacy of early flight. So the editor of the paper sent his aviation editor to meet with Orville, who again turned him down for the airplane. But the conversation turned to, well, what about the shop? Henry Ford has this collection of buildings up in Dearborn. We could maybe get the shop. So Orville came here to Greenfield to visit, and a week later, Mr. Weber, who still owned the building, sold it to them for $13,000. And in fact, in the process, these guys learned that the Wright's home was still standing in Dayton, and they bought that too, and they brought them both up here. When they first got the buildings here, they didn't open them right away. Orville wanted to have the dedication ceremony on Wilbur's birthday. His brother had been dead for over 25 years at this point, and he wanted this to be a way to remember him. And at that ceremony, fellow Daytonian Charles Kettering, who had invented the electric starter, he presided over the ceremony. Now, the people of Dayton had mixed feelings about this move. There was one side that was outraged that they had lost both the airplane and the shop to other cities. But then there was this other side that felt very honored that the great Henry Ford would take a piece of Dayton up to his museum, up to his park. And then honestly, there were a lot of people that just didn't care. It was the middle of the Depression, and people just had more pressing matters to deal with. Today, the National Park Service has a museum across the street. The neighborhood has protections in place, but nonetheless, most of the original structures the Wrights used are gone now. Their home was just a couple blocks away from here, but Ford, of course, moved that also. The shop that they were in before this one is still standing here in Dayton, and the Park Service has turned that into a museum, much like the one at Greenfield. Their grocery store is still here, the one that they shopped at, and they actually rented space in the upper level of that grocery store for their printing business at one point. So from Dearborn, Michigan and Dayton, Ohio, I thank you for joining me, and I will see you down the road.